Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
you are in the presence of greatness. When it comes to this field that this man has thoroughly mastered, I talked about it earlier. Tony Award winner.
It's a hard one. That's because that's a hard one to get.
That is.
That's a hard one to get.
Tony Award winner. I started with that because everybody can't say that.
No.
The percentages go down.
Immediately.
Peabody Award winner.
Wow.
The percentages go down. They don't win Peabodys. An Emmy Award winning spoken word artist. He's a pioneer at this. He's the blueprint at this. He's the bar at this. Citizens. He is that liaison between spoken word, hip hop, and all other genres of music. Citizens. He's also an awesome father who has beautiful children.
Yeah, we love
Beautiful.
them.
Who've been running around our studio all year. What is that?
They was here before me.
Damn, yo, that's crazy. We interviewed his kids before him.
Oh, wow.
He sent the kids for front, though. But listen, he got a new project called War for Love, produced by our good friend, the one and only, the A&R Room Master, Rich Nice.
Yeah.
Rich Nice is in the building. You hear Rich Nice, track masters. You hear Rich Nice disturbing the peace. You hear Rich Nice, the A&R Room. Now Rich is on the camera. All right, I want to welcome him to the show. Give it up for the legendary Black Ice is here, man.
Black Ice. Black Ice. Black Ice. Black Ice. Black Ice. Black Ice. Black Ice.
Finally.
Black Ice, man.
So excited.
What's going on?
Man,
What's up?
congratulations.
Yes.
Oh man, I'm thankful, man.
Man,
I
when
appreciate you.
when you hear your resume, how does that make you? 'Cause being a spoken word artist isn't like being a rapper or anything else.
Right.
To me, it's harder because it seemed like it's harder to market. Right, it's harder to get to the masses. It feels like where rap became a commodity, easily marketed and sold. So you got a lot of great spoken word artists who are legendary in their genre, but people may not know them in other genres. Right. What has your journey been like?
My journey's been pretty unique, right? Like, cause I was the only poet signed to Def Jam at a time when. Even the big cat at the time told me, we wouldn't have signed you. We wouldn't have signed you.
Who's that, Leor
Yeah.
Cohen?
We wouldn't have signed you. We don't sign new artists. We fan fires. Isn't that
that
right,
what-
Kevin?
That's what he said.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And then Kevin Lyles at that time.
Right. And then he, but he came every time he saw me. Like the first time Leor saw me, I was at Martin Luther King High School, uptown, and Ja Rule was supposed to be there at the time when Ja Rule was Ja Rule.
He was huge.
Wow.
And it was like an attendance concert. One of the best, the school with the best attendance gets a concert.
Highest attendance, yeah.
And then he pulled out at the last minute. Pause.
You ain't got to pause here, man. Fuck that.
I'm so old. I'm so
Yeah,
worried.
Nah, don't worry. You ain't got to pause here. Bro. Just use your words.
He said,
Torch from Harlem. Don't do that.
So Ja Rule, came. He wasn't.
He canceled.
He canceled. Thanks.
Yeah.
He
A
canceled.
poet being politically correct.
A spoken word artist.
Spoken word artist being
You can't say canceled either, but canceled. Yeah.
He canceled, and so then they called me up, like a pinch hitter, and so when I get to the school, and I just got signed, and it was like Russell, Leor, I think Tina Davis was there, and and so they get up on, it's 1,000 kids in the audience. Do you know what 1,000 high school kids is? Unforgiving.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
And so they got up on the mic and they was like, we know y'all was looking forward to seeing Ja Rule. They're like, Ja Rule!
Oh my gosh!
And then they was like, well, unfortunately, he won't be able to. But we have Def Jam's new artist. They was like, and he's a poet.
Then the little baby boos come from the
You hear the one, right? You hear the one boy out there. Nobody want to hear that.
That was George.
The one that gets called out of the auditorium. I got him.
You got him.
Nobody want to hear that shit.
Damn, George.
So what?
And then I got up there and I did what I do, and then they had to rush me out of they had to kind of pull me out of the school.
Wow.
So like we
You overwhelmed them.
I did poetry. Talk to them the way I talk to my audiences and standing those and then I was signing autographs like they absolutely knew who I was. So
wow.
give thanks, man.
Yo, make it a round of applause. This is Black I's first spoken word artist to ever be signed to Def Jam, and that year was
that was shit.
Okay. that's
01.
Okay.
It was a great setup.
03.
Oh, yeah, it was. He could have landed it. 01.
Yeah,
Okay.
01,
And so
03.
when we 23 years later, the poem you did that day, what was it about?
The poem I did that day was Imagine.
Okay.
Which was about just the disparity and the difference between suburban schooling and public schooling. I wrote Imagine kind of after that the revision of the No Child Left Behind Act.
Yeah.
And we knew that the suburban No Child Left Behind Act was different from the inner city No Child Left Behind Act. And so the poem was about that. Imagine if we had education, we had the education that them cats have out there in the sticks, instead of having to frame ourselves as the video vixen or, the neighborhood hustler. So
Okay, I love that because that same person that told you we would never sign you has been on record saying that, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not being specific, that record companies do tend to fan the flames, no matter how much a detriment those flames can be to the community.
absolutely.
Because that's what sells.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But you came in that same community, said something positive, uplifting, and that stuck to their hearts where you got to stand and know and had to be rushed out. Do you believe that's the only thing that can sell?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But I also don't I don't feel like I come from a community where, and I'm a boys club kid.
Yeah.
So my community, on top of my dad, my uncles, and my grandfather, which is a very rare wealth, coming from where I'm coming from, to have your pop, my uncles, and my grandpop. But I'm a boys club kid.
Okay.
So I learned pecking order, and I learned to lead with love. And I know that a lot of times these young people, they just want to know that somebody see them. And so that's what I do when I get around young folk. I let them know I see them.
You let them know you see them.
Yes.
You lead with love. You came up in Philly?
Absolutely.
Give it up for Philadelphia, y'all.
Yeah. Big
This is
time.
Black Ice. Now, I was just listening to a track with Petey Crack on it. Freeway is on it. Who else on that track?
Graph.
Bleak, and it just
I think that's it.
it just got me to think about just Philly and its legacy of MCs. And DJs from the Tap Money days, Marvelous Marv days,
Cash Money,
Fresco, and all of these different people that
Miz.
come
Shout out to Miz.
Come
Shout
on,
out to
Fresco
Miz.
Miz, right?
Miz, Cash Money, Jeff, DJ Too Tough, Cosmic Kev, of course. But now we go back, like we talking about the
Mountain Brothers.
DJ Rockin' Hood. I'm 52, so I can go there. And
I could go there too.
Yeah, I know we're not spring chickens.
Okay, well, speak for yourself. All right.
He said, "Speak for
Speak
yourself."
for yourself. There, I don't know. You ain't got to talk for me. I got it. How many ciphers were you in back then? Like, who were some of the MCs that you got into ciphers with?
Well, when I re-emerged artistically on stage, because I've been an artist all my life, and then at 16 I had a record out. 1988, I was Chad Money.
Okay,
it was an acronym. Cool hustling ass dude, but. But I was 16 years old. It wasn't a small feat. So we used to open up for Tough Crew, Crown Rulers. And we opened up for Stetsasonic and Public Enemy at one point. We did After Midnight back in the day. We played After Midnight. We was on Lady B when she was on 99. We was on Mimi.
99 Jams.
That was when hip hop
Power
was only
99.
Power 99. Yeah, and that was when hip hop was only being played on Friday night between like 6 and 10. You had Mimi on DAS and you had Lady B on 99 when she came from WHAT. So, when I re-emerged artistically on stage, it was because I was a barber for years, and that was my show. That was my artistic expression. And then when I got back up, it was like the 90s scene, right?
Okay.
So I was
Were the Roots out by this time?
Absolutely, of
Okay.
course. Like I remember doing the Wetlands, Black Lily when it first started was at the Wetlands, right? And thought, Reek was like, all right, Mar, because I wasn't Black Ice then. I was like everything but Black Ice, Brother Lamar, and he's like, all right, Mar, I'm Get Ray Rhyme, and then you up next after me. And so then Thought went on, proceeded to rhyme for about 18 minutes.
Okay.
Like straight.
You keep getting set up, huh?
Yeah, but then he set it up sweet because after he was done that, because I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? And then when he was done, he made them stop the music. He said, hey man, my brother, y'all gotta listen to what he say, So he gave me a perfect setup. So in the 90s, the poets were alongside the MCs, and there were a lot of underground MCs, Chief Kamachi,
Chief Kamachi,
right?
wow.
Chief Kamachi, Grand Agent. These were the cats who I was kind of ciphering with at that point.
So you ain't never battled? Have you ever battled? I know you slam, but have you ever battled?
No, I never slammed.
You never slammed either.
No, I was never in because it's my truth.
Yeah,
my truth ain't up for competition.
Shit. Okay, I heard that right there, man.
Right.
For those who don't know what slamming is, can you break that down?
Slam poetry is competition poetry, and there are all these rules, and there are criteria, and for me, like we in Philly, we weren't like we didn't do a cappella poetry in Philly. We always had cool DJ Marv or Rich Medina or Quest spinning break beats and acid jazz. So we we got our chops up vibing our poetry to music bands.
Okay.
So I wasn't in the a cappella poetry at all, until I came to Nuyorican, and I was like, oh shit, y'all do this with no music? This is crazy, And so slam poetry is just the competition of it, and it's cool because it brings the youth out, and it's a real big youth movement.
Nuyorican Soul, you're talking about the cafe, right?
Nuyorican Cafe, absolutely.
Huge
the
in New
people,
York.
I used to go there all the time.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Miguel Pinheiro, my man. Now my sis La Bruja runs it, and obviously Lemon Anderson, and Flacco Navaja, they're mainstays down there. So yeah, our vibe has always been poetry is the jazz of language.
Yes. The
so,
jazz of language.
That makes so much sense.
Wow, the jazz of language. That's good. Def Poetry Jam. How important was that platform to poetry and to your career?
Man. Stan Lathan and Russell, well, it was created by Bruce George, Danny Simmons, and Deborah Pointer. And they took it to Russ. And Russ thought it was he's like, it's for the weirdos, fucking snaps and raps. And
Russell Simmons said that?
Yeah, Russ was like, it's for the weirdos, like it ain't hip hop. That's what he would say.
I could see that. Yeah, back then, yeah.
And then the final pitch to HBO, which was at Malik Yoba's old spot, Soul Cafe.
Oh yeah.
The final pitch, I was winning. I actually got into it's a crazy story. So I went out, I auditioned. I moved to New York. I auditioned I went out for the tryouts for Def Poetry. And I got a standing ovation from everybody else auditioning, the judges, the people that was working there, the whole nine. And then I didn't get picked for nothing else. Like I didn't go to the semifinals because it was like a tier competition. And at the time I thought, oh man, he just trying to fuck me over. But it wasn't that. Spiritually, that night after I got all that applause, I jumped on the Greyhound and went back to Philly and went to the tables with my man. I was still in the streets. So, God ain't gonna let you tether the fence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I knew in hindsight later on, like, oh, that's why I didn't get on, because I wasn't using my powers for good. I was still dipping into that other thing. And so months later, I was cutting hair at Levels Barbershop over in Brooklyn. And Danny Simmons had a competition going on at Soul Cafe. It was an 8-week competition. I thought, I'm gonna get in this competition. And I won the second week, the third week, the fourth week, the fifth week, because you could keep entering. And then Danny stepped to me and said, hey, I don't want you to compete no more, but I want you to open up for Jessica Care Moore.
Give her a big
She
round
was
of
just here
applause.
last
The
week. I was
laureate
gonna
of
ask you
Detroit,
about
right?
it. Yeah.
For Jessica Care Moore and Steve Coleman and his brother named Taraji from Jersey. Like, these are old school poets, right? and it was the final pitch to HBO. And so I jumped up there and kind of let loose. I let it go. It was a hell of a moment. I went outside to catch some air, and when I turned around, Russell was out there like, "Hey, let me give you my number," and that's how my career, the trajectory changed at that point.
At that point.
And so Def Poetry came along, and I met Stan, and see those guys like Stan and Russell were very courageous because they knew that they were going against the grain. They knew that poets were going to say some things that was going to piss people off. We were going to say some things that would get us labeled. And they did it anyway, and it was like that first season, like Amiri Baraka, Imamu got up there and he did, Who Blew Up America. And most people don't know that was the one poem that got banned from the show. Like they banned it from the show.
From Def Poetry?
Yeah, like whoever
the powers
that be.
Yeah.
It got taken off of the DVD, and you never saw it again on HBO. When they rerun that episode, they didn't do that. So that's the power of the words. You know what I'm saying? My man Amir Suleiman, Suhair Hamad, they got put on. And myself. That I think theirs was different than mine, but they got put on. We all got put on the no-fly list. So
the government put you on a no-fly list. And then, were y'all labeled as radical?
Possible domestic terrorists.
Wow.
Because of your poetry?
Because of what we say. Yeah, absolutely. And it was, for me, it didn't stop me from flying, but every time I would go to the airport,
it was an issue.
They would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir, your name came up red flagged, and we're going to have to ask you to by the FBI." I'm like, could you keep it?
Right.
Keep it down. And I would go into the other room, they go through my bags and, pass the blame off to different people. But that's all. It was basically, I felt like it was a badge of honor. My pop was Black Panther Party. My pop was a revolutionary. My mom was revolutionary. So for me to grow up in the hood and then have the feds watching me because of what's coming out my mouth.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm doing my job.
You're doing your job. Get that man a round of applause. Black Ice is here. And then you went on, the same person that thought it was weird went on to hire you to voice all his books, do the audio books.
Yeah.
Russell Simmons, right?
Yeah, I did all.
Life is so funny.
Yeah, because what he said was, according to like magazines, he was like, when I saw Black Ice, I knew that the hood was ready for poetry.
Okay.
But that's Russell. Like the hood. Poetry is the hood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
like the hood was ready for poetry,
right,
but poetry is the hood.
Right, poetry is the hood. You know what I'm saying? Poetry is the raw truth about it. You know, there is no sensationalizing it. There is no, bedazzling it. We are the raw truth of what life is, or what's happening with life,
Do you feel like there's a limit to hip hop then, in terms of how raw that artist can get with the truth via expressing it in hip hop versus expressing it through spoken word?
No, not at all. I mean, you have MCs. You have MCs, like De La. You have MCs like Yasin and Talib Kweli and Heather and her, during her time. Like, we've always had these MCs that were absolutely about telling the truth of what society, giving a true reflection of what society is. So, I don't think we are missing that now. Kendrick, J. Cole, these young brothers are doing the same thing. So I think that poetry, obviously we get you have to listen. You have to listen because that's even when we make music, when Rich and I started with the album, we knew that we wanted the words first.
War for Love is the name of the album.
War for Love.
Y'all knew y'all keep going. Y'all wanted the words.
Yeah, we wanted the words first because So I don't think that what poets have. I always draw the analogy of racehorses, right? A racehorse and a wild horse.
Okay.
MCs are like thoroughbreds, right? They start at the top of they start at the beginning of a track, and they got to get around that track at a certain pace. You know what I'm saying? So they can get to the finish line. A poet is like a wild Arabian. We just gallop when we want to. We slow down when we want to.
All directions.
Right. We don't have we create the cadence. We create the rhythm because it's usually us and nothing else. It's our voice and nothing else. So
Black Ice
different,
is
not better.
Y'all ain't
Black Ice
chasing the
is
rabbit.
Yeah, they're not chasing the rabbit.
right.
War for Love is the name of the project. I want to talk about one or two pieces on it. Mike Muse, you want to jump in real quick?
got.
It's all right. You can take that one.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Hold on. We got
Boss
Dave on the
boss.
line from New York. Dave, what up?
Hey, Dave.
Dave.
Hey, good morning. How's everybody?
Great, Dave. We
Good,
got
what
Black
up?
Ice
What's good?
on
What's
here.
good?
What's happening?
I wanted to holler. I don't know if the brother remembers, but I was incarcerated when your career was going in with the spoken word, and they was trying to reach out to you and a couple of people to come inside. It was Black. What was it? It was you, Rainmaker, the people from Matt McCoy. I don't know if you're
Rainmaker.
familiar with them. Yeah, Rainmaker.
Yeah, I know Rainmaker. All
And
right
the
on.
funny thing about it, your name came up, and just like you were saying, they was like, "Who this guy?" Nah. And we was trying to fight, and that was the same week we had Amiri Baraka, we had Sapphire that came in and that did the movie Precious. She wrote the book Push that became Precious, and so. But the power of spoken word is serious because of spoken word, we had people all the way from California coming in and was like, wait a minute, what's going on in Eastern Correctional Facility? Because we won the Pen American Award like 4 of us in a row.
Right on.
And people used to say that, oh, these guys are prison poets. And we was like, nah, we're not prison poets. We're poets who happen to be in prison.
Right on.
Yes.
So
Right
Yeah.
on.
we've had a lot of we've collaborated with a lot of people. Reggie Gaines came in with Molly Fink.
Ooh,
and
the elder. That's
something
the
with us.
big bro.
Yes, exactly. He came in, so we had a lot of connectivity, but we tried to reach out to you, and they was not having it. But we did get Amiri and a lot of brothers in, and
Wow.
I just appreciate your work, bro.
Oh, I appreciate you, brother. Good
Man,
man.
that's a great call. You know, he got a new project, too. It's called War for Love. Can he get it now?
He can get it now on
Yeah,
all
but-
stream. It's out on all streaming platforms. We're putting out a limited edition vinyl, probably in about a month.
Okay.
Real special box set. So but it's all available on all platforms. It's pretty good too.
It's amazing. It's a great project. Mike, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I have a question. If we can about the domestic terrorism, because at that time period we weren't using the word domestic terrorism the way that it's more mainstream now, and it still is a challenge to classify someone as domestic terrorist because a lot of Americans can't see Americans as being domestic terrorists.
Right.
I'm just curious, what language, like what type of words were you saying and what were you talking about? I'm interested in the comparativeness of what you were saying back then versus what is currently being said now to what we deem as a domestic terrorist.
Specifically, it fell on me after I did the Ugly Show, the original Ugly Show, which was about the nation's slow response to Hurricane Katrina. And I don't think when I go back and I listen to the poem or I recite the poem to myself, I didn't think that there was anything damning. I didn't I didn't call out any names or whatever, anything like that. But I guess they were at that point, Amir, they had turned on to us. So now they're watching us with an eye. They're watching Def Poetry with an eye to make sure that nobody is crossing the line of what they felt like was inappropriate language. So, but in the poem itself, I didn't think that I said anything.
Can you say
damning.
some of it?
Yeah,
Yes,
what are you
please,
saying?
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it was like
Content.
it's a hard pill to swallow. When the laws you follow are enforced on land your ancestors were wrongfully mounted on. And the very principles this country's founded on can't be counted on in time of crisis and confusion. What an illusion they've pulled off on us, misused and lost our trust too many times. But ain't too many rhymes been written about this, so I'm pissed for some odd reason. We feel like it's better that less is said. But for God's sakes, niggas, they left us for dead, dying. And there's no denying them fathers crying with their families sidewalk written. What was so cleverly hidden is now in plain vision for all to see. We want y'all to see how this country does its poor and downtrodden. This is an instance that must not be forgotten. It's for keeps. Long after the media sweeps, political name calling and lying, cinematography done desensitize the eye so we don't cry no more when we see people dying in despair. We don't care. We just change the station. We live in a nation where the poor have nothing but time to spend, so we left waiting. Tailgating floodwaters outside the Superdome. Home no more. Shown no more love than some of them third world countries we take over. This the real rape over. And this ain't young boy frustrated emotion. This is grown man rationale. Hard to admit my national don't give a fuck about its own, but the evidence is clear. We can stack it up. Kanye made a statement. Ice here to back it up. It's true. We live in a beautiful world, but ugly souls push the buttons. The gluttons of society. Top priority making sure the rich folk stay rich folk. Pitchfork type thinking. New Orleans been sinking. This ain't a new issue. The Ninth Ward been the tissue that the city wipes its ass with. Like in the past with the first flood, way before Bush contracted Halliburton to restore back the order, they used dead black bodies to try and hold back the water. Such disorder in a country that burns so much money. I'm telling you, you learn so much money when you just open up a book and look inside. That's where they hide the evidence, these fucked up presidents and their constituents. Pit you against your own kind here. Fuck up your mind here, yeah. They got opportunities and jobs for the poor. It's called prison life and warfare, nigga. That's your share of the American pie. But you got to lie, steal, and cheat to get it. Step on somebody's feet to get it. And our toes have been swollen for so long. They do us so wrong, but we just stand there and take it. Nature rips the mask off, so now they can't fake it. We stand here, butt naked, nigga. This is your nation's poor. But you still turn around and ask us for our kids for war. And in battalions from the bayou that don't know what they over there fighting for, what the fuck can you possibly say to them when they learn their parents died, casualties of the war on poverty, waiting for help outside a fucking stadium?
Black Ice. Peace. I'm going to go to this album real quick. Thank you for sharing that, too. And
Yeah, and I heard about 3 reasons why you got a phone call.
Yeah,
But we gonna talk later.
talk to him about that later.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
But Heather, you hearing politicians saying way more damaging things than this, right?
100%.
But see, the politicians can't talk to the people. That's the whole thing. You know, you can, a lot of times a politician is just a pundit, it's a head, talking head. They can't talk to the people. You know, when you can talk to the people, this is why cats were scared of Pac. You know what I'm saying? This is why cats were scared of Chuck. You know, this is why cats were scared of X-Clan, because they got to the people. When you speak that people language, you know, cats don't like that. So.
Black Ice is here, man. I'll be remiss. This is great too, by the way. War for Love is the album. Rich Nice, our very own, is an executive producer on it. We started off with the track Oxum's Lament, featuring Coco of SWV.
Yeah.
Beautiful song, man. That thing knock.
Yeah, that's Rich made that thing.
Yeah, that's
Rich made that thing.
Rich
knock,
made
man.
that knock. Okay, Rich got the mixing there. I like when you talk about love in your poetry.
Right on.
Yeah, man.
Nobody ever says that to me.
Really? I love
Everybody
it.
always wants the nigga shit.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
that's my thing. That's how I got there.
Chains.
I think we gotta use that as a soundbite.
Gold on my chains. What?
But it's a perspective like what we don't hear in our creative processes a lot. We don't hear this man's voice. This, you know what I mean? This man's perspective on love. You know, to me, you're a stand-up guy. You're a stand-up man. You got beautiful kids. You support your family. You do all of these things. So when I hear you talk about love, it's not cheapened. It's not frivolous.
No. It also comes from a lot of lessons.
Right.
A lot of fuck-ups.
Okay.
A lot of heartbreak. And trying to grow and be better, right? Like, so, actually, Oksum's Lament, that poem at the end of that song, with Coco singing, when Rich played the song for me, I felt like that was my ex-wife talking to me.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
I felt like
so your response was kind of like
my response, and you know, because I had to get tired of my own bullshit. Last year was the year of me being tired of my own bullshit. My bullshit catching up to me.
I like that.
And so my ex, she, you know, our foundation, our cornerstoned our beginning on some bullshit, and it came back it came back up, and so, you know, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Yeah.
And you don't have any say-so over how somebody responds to your actions. And so her response was a wrath.
Yeah.
And I accept that because it was my fault. It was absolutely my fault.
Did you tell her that at some point?
Try to.
Okay.
Try to. And then she released her, you know, she unleashed her wrath on me. And still no blame because, again, it was cornerstoned in my bullshit.
Okay.
So I am at fault, period, point blank. But every action has a reaction. So I'll suffer your wrath, but now here's my response to that.
And that's what
what that poem was.
Sheesh, my gosh, man. What's so crazy how deep that poem is, and y'all hit it behind a nice beat, and I'm dancing to it. Rich Nice. That's amazing. You have another poem, and I want to end the conversation with this because I know we have to go. But this is a powerful album. You're not going to be able to listen to it once. You're not going to hear the same thing twice. It's very creative. You and Rich really put your foot in this one.
Shout out to Rich Nice.
Rich Nice. Give it up for Rich Nice,
Yeah.
CP.
Absolutely.
And make sure y'all submit for Grammys, you know. So
we are ready for your consideration.
okay, so if y'all get a Grammy, if I don't get a shout out, we'll talk about that later. All right, Roland's Heart. This is how I want to conclude the conversation. If you could tell us about this song and what inspired it, and then I want us to play it.
Ooh, yeah, that's where we going.
That's where we at, brother.
So Roland was my younger brother. September 11th, 2021, a couple months after our father passed. My pop passed June 27th. Then the last thing I told my pop after we took him off the machine and he was breathing on his own in his ear, I told him that I had my little brother. It was Roland, and you know, it was my pop's funeral was hilarious. It was beautiful but hilarious because my little brother made it hilarious. As somebody with a drug problem would make things.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Yeah.
And,
okay. So he had addictions.
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a little vice, and 9/11 happened, and I had a show that day. And my brother called me, and it was the first time we had talked since my father's funeral. And he video called me, and he's like, "What's up, big bro?" Because he was like, he's a very animated cat. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "What's up, big bro?" And I said, "What's up, man? I miss you, man." He's like, "Yeah, let's get together." And I could see he was high, so I asked him, "Won't you hook up with me at my show later on?" And he was like, "All right, big bro, are you going to pick up the phone? Because, I call sometimes and you don't pick up the phone." And I said, "I promise you, bro, I'm going to pick up the phone. I got sound check at 5:30. If I don't hit you by 6 o'clock, call me." At 6 o'clock on the dot, he called me. I wasn't doing nothing. I didn't have any reason to not pick up the phone. I just selfishly didn't. And he called me maybe 3 or 4 times after that. And I didn't pick up the phone, And usually, Get High was his go-to, but that day, Big Bro was his go-to. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't impeccable with my word. And so I think I was closing the show around 10:30. They found his body down Kensington Beach at 10:35. So I'm not responsible or guilty for his actions, but I'm guilty for not keeping my word. Mm-hmm. And I've met people who didn't know me from Adam, who run up to me and tell me how I changed their life. I've had people run up to me and say, "Man, I was getting ready to commit suicide, and it was something in the energy of your voice that gave me life." I've had cats that tell me that I had the energy to get them, whatever energy came through me gave them the inspiration to get off of whatever they was on. So I know what I do. Mm-hmm. I know what the energy that comes through me can do. Mm-hmm. That day, it was my responsibility to stop, to give my brother to let him see a different side and give him that spark. And where other people probably say, "Oh, well, you can't control nobody's actions," instead, no, you can't. But I know my power. Mm-hmm. And I know that it was my responsibility that day to turn my brother's life. And I didn't. And so that has been, that piece, Roland's Heart, was actually not a poem. It was just a journal entry. Mm-hmm. And I was so riddled with guilt that I was just trying to get it off of me. Mm-hmm. And I wrote it, and I wrote it, and I wrote it. And then so when we're in the studio, I'm flipping through my book looking for poems. And I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, shit." And I told Rich, put the Alfred Hitchcock joint on. That's what we called the track. and I went into the booth, and I think I might have. We only recorded it once. Because
actually he said the poem in the room, the first half, and I said in the booth.
Right.
Don't say no more.
Right.
And he went in the booth, and I pressed record, and he laid it.
And when I was done, I was like, yeah, nah, I don't. I was like, nah, I didn't.
Scared to touch it.
I was like, I said, I don't know if we should do that. And Rich was like, yo. And Sidney Mills was like, shout out to Sidney Mills. They was both like, you gotta do that one. Like this has to be on the record because it was the rawest moment. And yeah, man, and it's be impeccable with your word. You know, like I said, I've learned a lot of lessons, man.
Yeah.
And I'm accountable first.
Yeah.
So I love the compliments, but you know, I'm all right, Dad.
Okay.
You know, I'm becoming a better dad. I'm becoming a better lover. You know, I'm becoming a better man. You know, I still got work to do. Yeah, Roland's heart, man.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for sharing that.
Appreciate
and
you.
Thank you for sharing your truth.
Thank you.
Right? I appreciate it, man. Give it up for Black Eyes, and you're going to be all right. Some kids love you, man. I tell them I know you, they get excited.
And we all got work to do.
Yes,
We all got
do.
work
We're
to
not
do,
alone
man.
in that.
Not at all, man. You have been a total gift to the spoken word art form to our community, not just because of the way you choose to express, it's the words you have expressed consistently over the years. You've been a stand-up guy. You somebody we could look up to in a way, regardless of your flaws or whatever you think your shortcomings are, what you project out is golden.
Give thanks.
So maybe those flaws and all those things you have contributed to the success of what you project out.
Give thanks.
And when we hear that, we are empowered, you know, we are informed, and we are entertained. And so thank you. Give it up for Black Ice, man, for sharing your truth, man. The album is called War for Love.
War for Love.
You can get that album right now.